Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to begin our program soon. Kindly ensure your microphone is switched off to avoid any disruption throughout the program. You are also encouraged to switch on your camera during the program. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning we would like to wish to our guests today, Dr. Wan Mazlini binti Osman, Head of English Language and Literature Department, Faculty of Languages and Communication, Dr. Kazaila binti Zaini, Advisor of English Language Society, our speaker for today, Ms. Shasha Fuad, and our wonderful viewers. Welcome to Aspire to Inspire 2.0 Tailor Your Presentation Skills. I, Fatin Sakina, will be your MC this morning. We would like to thank all of you for spending your precious time and joining us today for this talk. Before we proceed with our program, let us begin with a prayer recitation. Without further ado, please welcome Anas to lead the prayer.
Before we begin, let us recite Ummul Kitab Al-Fatihah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Hamdan yuafi ni'amaka fi mazida. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi jala wajhikal karim wal azimil sultanik. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammad salatan tunjina biha min jami'il ahwal wal afat wa taqdilana biha jami'al hajat wa tutahhiruna biha min jami'is sayyiat wa tarfa'una biha indaka a'la darajat wa tuballighuna biha aqsal rayat من جميع الخيرات في الحياة وبعد الممات وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Oh, Ya Allah, Ya Rahim, praise be to God, the Lord of the world. Peace and blessing be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companion, and for those who follow his example till the judgment day. Allahumma Ya Allah, on this blessed day, in conjunction with the Aspire to Inspire 2.0, we beseech thee and are grateful towards you in favor of all the infinite blessing to us, your humble servant, to live in a safe and prosperous life. We seek your blessing for a flawless progress of this event from the beginning till the end. We seek your guidance to steer clear of the event that will be detrimental to the progress of this event. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وادخلنا جنة مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. صلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين يا رب العالمين.
Thank you to Anas for leading the prayer recitation. May this program be showered with blessing and run smoothly until the end of the program with the hope that it benefits us and our viewers. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin with this program, let us take a moment to sing our university song, Cemerlang Bersama.
Kepada seluruh warga UPSI untuk memastikan kita mencapai bintang, kita kena bersatu, kita kena bersama untuk memastikan kita semua cemerlang bersama. Saling menghargai, saling berbudi, sanjung tinggi tradisi.
Akademik dan akhlak terpuji, seimbang dan geni. Berpadu, mewarna cita yang
We apologize for the hiccup just now. Thank you for being patient with us. Now, let us continue with the program. Let's welcome our Head of English Language and Literature Department, Dr. Wan Mazlini, to give her speech and to officiate our program this morning, Aspire to Inspire 2.0, Tailor Your Presentation Skills. Please welcome Dr. Wan Mazlini.
All right. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, Doctor, we can
All
hear you
right.
clearly.
Okay. All right. Again, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. Okay. First of all, I would like to congratulate the committee for organizing a very good event this morning. Okay. And then second, I would like to thank our invited speaker, Shasha Fuad. Okay. I never heard. I have never heard her name. Okay, so when you told me that she's coming, so I just Google and Shasha, oh there you are. I was just about to say, can you please on your camera? All right, welcome. Welcome and thank you, yeah, to spend your precious Saturday morning to join our event organized by English Language Society, UPSI. Okay. So when I look at the title, yeah, aspire to inspire, tailor your presentation skills. And when I read the background of Shasha Fuad, and she is into public speaking, yeah, and also, public speaking relates to presentation skills. So I really hope with her sharing of her experiences and perhaps some knowledge, about public speaking and also presentation skills, I really hope all of you, those who are here in the Google Meet and also those who are viewing us or watching us on YouTube channel, to gain a lot of knowledge, and benefit all of you to be able to increase your confidence, to be able to gain confidence, and then speak in front of public. So in my opinion here, when you say public speaking, yeah, maybe for Shasha Fuad, public means public, yeah. But then for the TESOL students, I would say that public means, when you go for your teaching practice, your students, are your public viewers or your public audience, okay? So I really hope that with the sharing of experiences and also knowledge by Shasha Fuad, all the TESOL students on this Google Meet and also YouTube will gain some tips. All right, and then perhaps you can apply the tips, or you can use the tips when you go for your teaching practice very soon. All right, so being speaking in public, just like what I am doing now, I am actually speaking to public. I am doing public speaking as well. Okay, so public speaking is not something easy for all of you to do, although it's not with a real public audience, or it is just with your students, but the confidence must be there. You must display the confidence, yeah, especially when you are dealing with the secondary school students. Okay, the lower secondary not too bad, but then when you are dealing with the upper secondary schools, so they're just watching you, how you how you bring yourself, how you say words, how you present, how you teach, what you say, everything they take into account. Okay, so I really hope with this event, from this program, all of you will gain some tips, some benefits from the sharing by Shasha Fuad. I believe that some of you already experience, yeah, the public speaking. However, there are always room for improvement. There are always room for adding knowledge, and also there are always room to hear and share experiences from other people as well. All right. So again, I would like to thank Shasha Fuad. Thank you for everything. Thank you for spending your Saturday morning. Thank you for sharing the tips. Thank you for sharing the knowledge and experiences with my beloved TESOL students. Okay. So I really hope this will the sharing will develop you as individuals. The sharing will develop all the skills that you already have. The sharing will make you become interested for public speaking event. Okay. Again, once again, I would like to thank everyone. All right, who are here uh, on this Saturday, wonderful Saturday morning. Okay, so with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, I hereby officiate Aspire to Inspire 2.0. Tailor your presentation skills. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Wan Maslini, for the speech. Now, before we continue, I would like to remind all of you to pay attention to the keywords that will be given during the talk. There will be 2 keywords in total. I repeat, there are 2 keywords in total. You will need to key in those keywords in your attendance link that will be given at the end of this program. Now, let us welcome our moderator, Jewel, to take over the next session. Jewel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Fatin. A very good day to everyone here and to our audience in YouTube Live. I am Jewel and I will be your moderator for today. Presentations. As we all know, presentations have become a norm, not only for university students, but also for students in general. However, not everyone has the confidence or knowledge to ace it the way they want. So, for today, we have invited a special guest who will share some tips and tricks that we can all take note of when we set ourselves out for presentation. Before we proceed, I would like to share a bit about our talented speaker. Our speaker is currently in her final semester pursuing English linguistics and is also a freelance host with experience hosting Shopee live stream shows promoting multiple brands. She is also a part-time public speaking trainer for Malaysian Institute of Debate and Public Speaking, MIDP. She is none other than the lovely Miss Shasha Fuad. Thank you so much for being here with us, Miss Shasha. Now let's get to know more about Miss Shasha, shall we? Please do introduce yourself and how would you describe yourself in one word?
All right. Hi. Good morning, everyone. I'm Shasha. If I were to describe myself in one word, I think it would be. It's pretty hard. Like there's a lot of words that appear in my mind, like as confident, because when talking about being confident does not mean like confident equates to being brave. Some people think that being brave means that you're confident, when it's usually vice versa. It's not necessary for you to be brave when you are confident, but somehow confidence does initiate for you to be brave. Confidence is when you embrace your imperfections. Confidence is when you embrace the flaws that you have. Confidence is when you believe that you're able to improve, that you would want to improve. Confidence is when you have the drive to improve yourself, to do a lot of things. So I see myself as someone who is confident.
Thank you so much, Miss Shasha. So, guys, I'm already excited. Let's get the show on the road, shall we? Now, without further ado, get your seatbelts on, ladies and gentlemen, because we are about to dive deep into the world of presentation. Miss Shasha, are you ready?
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
Alrighty then, passing this virtual mic to you, and the stage is all yours.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Jewel. Once again, hello, good morning, everyone. How are you guys feeling? Please drop by your comments in the comment section on YouTube as well as Google Me because I'm so excited to find out how you guys are feeling today. Okay, and be true to yourself. Like if you say already that you're feeling a bit bored or like you're exhausted or you're just sleepy because it's on a Saturday morning, then just let it out. Like just comment because one of the things about being a public speaker is you have to know yourself and you have to know your emotions. When you know exactly what you're feeling in the current moment, then it's easier for you to learn. Then it's also easier for you to start your public speaking. All right. So, with that, I'm going to share my screen. Do you guys see my screen now? Can someone turn on the mic and
Yes, yes,
okay,
yes, Shasha.
awesome.
Yes, we can see.
All right, awesome. Okay, so, um, well, outside of the session, I also like what Jewel has mentioned just now. I also am a part-time public speaking trainer in MIDP, Malaysian Institute of Debate and Public Speaking, where the institute literally like trains teenagers and children about the art of debate and public speaking. And also prior to that, I also have experience in running public speaking workshops. So today I've trained and I've coached. I'm not necessarily coached, but I have around 500 local students nationwide that have attended my private public speaking workshops, and not just students in general, but also people who have careers, like people who work in offices that have to present 24/7. So it is there to say that you know public speaking is a general skill that everyone needs to have in their lives, and public speaking is not just you stand within a grand audience presenting a speech. It can be like what your advisor has mentioned about teaching people in class, right? Knowing your audience is, and knowing what kind of language they speak is very important as a public speaker, so that you know that you have the same wavelength of communication. And for this today's session, I will teach you more on how to present not only just more eloquently, but also the tips and tricks to really get your audience hooked with your presentation. And it all matters in like how well do you know your topic, how well do you know your audience, and how well do you know yourself and want to perform as a public speaker. Why is my session name Upgrading the Basics? Because all of us, actually, those who are watching right now, we all already have the basic public speaking skills, But I've never done public speaking before. Like I'm not like you. I've never joined any all of these activities before. Some of you may think that way, but actually, we all have all the basic public speaking skills. You can talk. You know the languages. Like Bahasa Melayu, English. Some of you may know other languages like Mandarin, Tamil, or even foreign languages. Like in public speaking, the most basic thing that you need is, of course, knowing the language. So you all have that skill already, right? Like if you don't have that skill, then probably it's almost impossible for you to even be here today because you are not able to comprehend whatever is going to be said, right? So all of us also know how to talk. We know how to use our voice to talk. We know how to have different intonations, especially when we want to interact with people. But probably regarding intonations, it's a bit hard for us to master the skill. Like probably we find ourselves being very monotonous when it comes to speaking in public compared to speaking with our friends. But we already know the basics of intonation, right? So all of these basic skills, I intend to upgrade it to the next level so that you'll be able to unleash the TED in you. Okay? So with that, right, as a presenter, it's very important for you to first of all know yourself. It's not just in life that you have to know yourself, even in public speaking. Okay, you have to know yourself to exactly know your style. How does this apply? It means that you know how you talk. You know how you use your gestures. You know how confident or how comfortable you are in presenting and talking about something. You have to know your style and you have to know yourself in order to know exactly how are you going to present something. There's no one shade fits all foundation in this world, right? Like there's no one shade or one size fits all. Okay, so like there's no reason for you to really like 110% copy Shasha Fuad's presentation skills. There's no reason for you to 100% copy Said Sadiq's presentation skills. Why? Not only because you have your own identity as a public speaker, but also in a way it allows your audience to relate to you closer, so that they don't associate you with the people that you trying to copy. Let them know you as Darshini, let them know you as Jewel, let them know you as who you really are as a presenter. Okay, so with that, it's very important for you to find the genuine, the authentic value, the flaws that you have, and the perfections that you have, so that you know what values that are authentic to yourself, and you're able to put a professional facade. Professional facade means that you have not really a separate personality per se, but you know how to present yourself when you want to talk to public, rather than you faking it. There are two very different things: professional facade and a fake person as a whole. Okay. All right. So with that, when we want to do presentations, right? Obviously, we need to have content. We obviously need to know what do we want to talk, what do we want to present about, right? So with that, there are three important elements in building the content for your presentation. It's the three C's that you may want to take note, that you want to jot down somewhere. It's construct, concrete, and complete. Constructing a plan means that you have to know who you're talking to. Are you talking in a classroom? Are you talking in a whole conference room? You want to make sure that your plan, your presentation, is telling a story that your audience will want to listen to. Like for today, right now, my audience is the UPSI students, as well as people who are watching, probably some of my followers who have been dying to follow my presentation skills workshop. Now is their only chance for today. All right. So probably some of my audience overall are students who want to improve their presentation skills. So I have to make sure that my presentation today tells a story that my audience wants to listen to, i.e., that I'm telling about how to upgrade your public speaking or presentation skills, because that's the real reason why you guys are here today. Like, you're not here to hear me listen about talking about skincare and stuff. No, but you're here to really know what it takes to be a good public speaker, or even better public speaker. Okay, so once you've constructed a plan, a blueprint, you need to make sure that your content is concrete. It's convincing the audience. How sure are you that your content of presentation, or whatever that you have in your pedagogy, right? Or whatever that you have in mind to teach to your student, how sure are you that your content is comprehensible, is constructive, it's easy to be understood for your audience? So that is where you have to make sure that your presentation is concrete. Now, once you have your plan, once you have made sure that your presentation is filled with all the things that is needed for your audience, you have to make sure that your whole presentation structure has a complete, juicy storyline. How do you want to introduce the topic? Okay, because we have this thing called the law of recency and primacy. We'll look to that further on. And how do you want to wow them with your content? And how do you want to end your presentation with a wow, amazing closure? Okay, how do you want to have a good organization of speech or presentation when you want to teach, or when you want to give public speaking or debating in general? We'll look into that right after this. Okay, so with that, let us get on to the first element of building your content, constructing a plan. Wherever you're in right now, whether you're in campus or you're at your house, or probably you're in a cafe listening to this talk, right? All these buildings that you are currently in, situated in right now, obviously before the buildings are built, they have their own blueprints, right? So it's the interior designer's job, it's the architect's job to provide a blueprint, to provide the design, before it's the engineer's job to start building, to start their construction, right? So it's the same thing in public speaking. We need to make sure that we construct our own blueprint, our own design of our presentation very well, so that our presentation, the content itself, will be presented in a very comprehensive way. So to construct this kind of blueprint, you need to ask yourself these three questions. Number one, who is listening to your presentation? who is going to listen and going to have the most input from your presentation? Definitely your audience. So you have to know who your audience are. You have to know the demography of your audience so that you can manage their expectations. How old are they? What kind of language do they speak? And when we're talking about language, it's not just they're speaking BM or they're speaking English. No, not that per se. But what kind of language do they speak, or do they understand jargon words? Do they understand scientific words? Are they possibly from the rural areas that might not even understand English in the first place? Because it's very important for you to know what kind of language your audience speak in order for you to present using the language that they know. Okay? Like how in relationships, right? They say, oh, you and your partner have to, or you and your friend have to speak the same language so that you guys will be able to understand each other. All right. So if language and the way that you speak itself is the key to a healthy relationship, it's the same thing between you and your audience. You have to make sure that you speak the language that your audience could understand, and the language that your audience speak in order for them to understand and get the best out of your presentation. Okay, what are their niche? So like how, like where do they come from, as in like what field do they come from, or like their niche basically. Does it match your presentation context? Like you cannot expect you yourself as an English teacher to be able to speak or to talk or to teach mathematics, because like at that time your niche is not necessarily mathematics, right? And your audience is expecting to learn mathematics. So if you are unable to present or to teach about mathematics, but you're trying to present to a group of people who expect to learn mathematics, then there will be a clash of wavelength over there. Somehow your audience won't be able to even understand, right? Something like that. Okay. What do they like to see or hear? Now, this is very essential, especially when you're teaching to secondary students, right? Especially nowadays, given the fact that social media, that the technology is quickly rising. What I learned is that the younger generation has a very, very, very much shorter attention span compared to us, right? So because of this, you have to make use of the law of recency and primacy in order to catch their attention. You have to know what do they like to see, what kind of language do they like to hear, and what kind of language should you speak on. Not necessarily have to speak in baby languages, or you have to be an attention seeker per se, but basically, like if you're able to grab their attention using the things that they like to see or hear, it's either that you use interactive slides, or you frequently use Kahoot, game is interactive things to engage with their attention, then that's a start. That's a start for you to already know your audience and to also know how you're going to present your presentation. Now that you know who your audience is, you're going to go to the next part, the objective. Why are you presenting this topic? Why are you teaching this topic to your audience? Why are you choosing this topic to be presented to your students, your pupils in class, right? So will it meet their expectations? Like what I said earlier, if the class is expecting to learn about mathematics at that time, will your content of presentation meet their expectations? Your expectations to me right now is to learn the basic presentation skills. So I have to make sure that my content meets your expectation to teach you how to upgrade your public speaking skills. Okay, make sure that your presentation answers these questions. Once you have the objective, once you know who you're talking to, now that you have to know the information of your event. Where will you be speaking? When will you be speaking? Where is it going to be held? Is it going to be held physical or online? Okay, so that you are able to prepare yourself as a presenter to be comfortable with the setting that you are in to present your presentation. Like if you are presenting online, then you have the expectation, okay, so I have to be ready to prepare this, to prepare the slides and everything. You prepare yourself for the event that you're going to talk to. Okay, now that you have all of these three things, number one is knowing your audience who you're talking to. Number two, knowing why you're presenting this topic. Number three, know exactly where you're going to be talking, knowing the information of your event. There you have it. You have a complete blueprint a plan that you've just constructed to then present your content. Okay, so now your content must make sure that it's concrete. All right. In presentations, I like to say that building your presentation content is the same as writing a song. It must have all these three elements: the chorus, the lyrics, and the bridge. Okay, first of all, it's the chorus. So, the chorus of a song is a part that we always repeat. Am I right? All right, so we always repeat our chorus. So, the chorus of a song basically tells the story, the gist, the context of the song. So it's the same in public speaking or in presentations. Your chorus in your presentation is your main points. Why do I say so? Because these main points are gonna be the key words, the title of your main points that you're going to repeat over and over and over again. Okay, so this will be the key phrase that you'll repeat at the beginning and at the end of presenting your points. How is that so? Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to talk about the benefits of getting COVID-19 vaccine. Number one, it's going to provide the herd immunity. And then you're going to explain all about this herd immunity. Herd immunity is important so that we are able as a community to adapt with the virus of the COVID-19. Hence, it's very important for us to have our vaccine so that we'll be able to somehow create our herd immunity. So, with that, it's not really proper lah tadi, but in a way, when you repeat your key points, your key phrases at the beginning and at the end of presenting your presentation, it will plaster in the mind of your audience that this is your main point, that this is the key takeaway that they will plaster in their minds, that they will remember from your presentation. Okay, so like right now, my second argument is concrete. Okay, so concrete, I have to make sure that once I elaborate about these points about concrete, I have to remind you that all these three explanations are to making sure that your content is concrete. I repeat this over and over and over again. Repetition is the only way for your audience to remember exactly what your presentation is about. Okay, so when you have a presentation, when you have your content, you will want to repeat your key points, right? If you are going to teach about grammar, right? So like there are a lot of subtopics that fall under grammar, for instance. So all of these are your key points. And when you want to explain about these subtopics, you will always explain and then you repeat that subtopic title again. So that's the chorus. You repeat that over and over and over again. Okay. Once you have the chorus, once you know the title to your main points, now it comes to elaboration, like what I've mentioned earlier. Now, in a song, the lyrics, the stanzas, the stanzas that come in or before or in between your chorus is the lyrics itself, right? So lyrics in a song helps us to understand better the explanation of the chorus, the explanation of the story. It also helps us to somehow imagine in our minds the storyline of the lyrics, of the whole song, right? So it's the same thing with your presentation. The lyrics of your presentation is basically your elaboration, how you explain your chorus, how you explain your key points. So for you to have a good, strong lyrics of your presentation, you have to ask yourself these three questions while you're building your explanation, your elaboration, all your examples, right? Number one, are your lyrics clear and easy to be understood? It means, is your elaboration, your explanation of your content clear and easy to be understood? Okay. Number two, are your lyrics transparent and honest? Is your elaboration supported by strong data? Is it transparent enough? So will it convince your audience? Is it true? Are the points genuine, authentic? Okay. And number three, are your lyrics colorful and easy to relate to the audience? Will the audience understand your elaboration? Will the audience understand when you present your explanation on these certain key points? Let me give you an example, right? Example is when our former Prime Minister, Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, presented about Bantuan Prihatin Nasional, the first time when it was about to be distributed. Okay. So with that, knowing that his whole audience while watching at the time are Malaysians, and Malaysians that are coming from different background of education. Okay, it means that not only we students who basically understand how the whole distribution works are watching the presentation, but also bear in mind at that time there are also Malaysians from the rural areas that are watching, because they are the ones who are mainly curious about how this PPN is going to be distributed. There are also people who may not even understand English, because English is not our second language, so they understand mostly in Bahasa Melayu. And note that these people who only understand things in Bahasa Melayu are the ones who understand it in basic Bahasa Melayu. Knowing all of these in mind, how did our former Prime Minister present about something that is so technical, which is the Bantuan Prihatin Nasional, by using simple and easy Bahasa Melayu? Because when he wants to explain about the BPN, he has to make sure that the explanation is thoroughly understood by all of the Malaysians at the time. So since our common language is Bahasa Melayu itself, he uses Bahasa Melayu in his speech when he wants to talk about it, when he first presented about Bantuan Prihatin Nasional, and at that as well, he uses simple Bahasa Melayu to be understood by all generations of Malaysians at the time while watching. That's number one. Number two, the explanation, he makes sure that it's transparent and honest in the terms that he will support whatever points that he has about Bantuan Prihatin Nasional with data. Okay, when he talks about COVID-19, he talks about how dire the situation is at the time. Okay, how the economy is plummeting. He supports it, he backs it up with data from the Ministry of Health, from the Ministry of Finance. Okay, so his explanation at the time is transparent and honest. It's supported with data. Okay, and also when he presents about Bantuan Prihatin Nasional, he talks about the example Makcik Kia. So Makcik Kia over here, if we close our eyes, we can imagine that Makcik Kia is a persona that's very common in our Malaysian lives. Okay, how is that so? When we talk or mention about Makcik Kia, probably the first person that comes in your mind is obviously not only a woman, but a middle-aged woman at that, okay, 30, 40, 50. And you can also imagine that Makcik Kia is a part of the B40 community, okay? You can imagine that persona somehow. You don't label someone who comes from T20 background as Makcik Kia, do you? You often, however, not to say stereotype, but just label them as dating-dating, dato-dato, golongan T20, golongan P40. We put all these labels, right? So you put the label Makcik Kia, you associate it with someone in your head who is a B40, who is a woman, who is a mother of children, who is also a wife. And you can also imagine that this Makcik Kia is somehow, probably struggling a bit, right? Someone who probably sells nasi lemak in our area. We can somehow imagine the persona of Makcik Kia in our lives. Okay, so how does this come to use with the presentation of the BPN? When Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin presented about the distribution, explained about how the BPN is going to be distributed. He talked about how Makcik Kia will be able to get this BPN. He talked about how this Makcik Kia will be able to spend this BPN. So at that time, all of us Malaysians are somehow educated, or at least being explained about, right? How the BPN will be distributed. And this example is the easiest example that everyone who's watching at the time will be able to comprehend, right? Even for people who are in rural areas or rural urbans of the city, right? They'll somehow be able to understand how this BPN is distributed, how they should apply, and how much money will they earn from the BPN, and how is it, should be fairly distributed among the family at the time, right? So he utilized this persona of Makcik Kia in order to explain better about BPN, okay? In order to have better lyrics of the presentation. I mean, presenting about BPN is also presentation itself, okay? So with that, His explanation about the VPN is clear and easy to be understood because he uses simple bahasa Melayu. It's transparent and honest because he backed it up with data from the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Finance, and he uses the example Makcik Kia, which makes it colorful and easy to relate to the audience. So audience, while listening at the time, can somehow imagine VPN being distributed to Makcik Kia. Okay, now that you have very strong lyrics, for you to support your chorus, your key points, you have to make sure when you want to move from chorus to stanza 3, from chorus to part B, from chorus to from the next part to this part, right? You have to make sure that you have the bridge. In a song, the bridge is basically 2 lines or 3 lines or even 1 line of lyric that connects your first part of the song to the chorus. Okay, so it basically, like the name itself, a bridge, right? It connects from one part to another. The connecting sentences that you use in your presentation, although it seems very little and petty to you, but it will make it sound like a good flow of presentation. Okay, usually in class, right, when you want to present to the next point, don't lie to me, I know that you will use this word when you want to move on to the next point. Next, next, right? So rather than saying next because it's an incomplete connector, consider using full sentences to connect from point A to point B. Moving on to our next point. Remember, and even when you see me moving from points, the chorus to the lyrics, you see me, I'm not saying next, but instead I use connecting sentences. Now that we have our chorus, let's move on to the lyrics. Now that we have the strong lyrics, let's move on to having the bridge. Use linking sentences and phrases so that it will have a better flow of the presentation as a whole. It will sound like a story that will make your audience listen to not a presentation, but rather a genuine story, okay, a genuine content that they will be able to somehow comprehend. Okay, when it comes to creating a content, a concrete content, a creative or somehow understandable explanation, it all comes to how are you going to research the topic, right? So researching a topic involves these 3 essentials. Number 1, knowing the purpose. Number 2, knowing the central idea. And number 3, coming up with your main points, the lyrics and the chorus itself. So first, you have to know what is your general and specific purpose of building the speech, of teaching that presentation, of teaching the content in class. Okay? Next, now that you have the purpose, you have to tell the audience what is your main focus, what is the main thing that you want them to take away from your presentation by the end of the day. And you have to tell the audience your main points, right? So with that, based on the central idea, you can then generate the main point, the explanation, the elaboration to support the central idea, or if it's easier to be understood by all of us, the thesis statement of our presentation. Okay, so first, knowing the general purpose. Often it depends on the event of your speech or the event of your presentation. So there are 4 common types of general purpose. Number 1, whether your presentation is to inform. Okay. Number 2, whether your presentation is to persuade. Okay. Number 3 is whether your presentation is to entertain. And number 4, if your presentation intends to celebrate someone. Okay, whether you want to give them a show and tell or inform them about new information, or if you're going to persuade, giving a persuasive speech, you're going to debate about a certain issue, or are you going to give up stand-up comedies, or even are you going to introduce an award recipient or anything, knowing the general purpose of your presentation, of your public speech is very important so that you know where you're going with your presentation. All right. Now, once you have the general purpose, for instance, you're going to inform your audience about something. Let's come down to the specific purpose. Specific purpose here is based on these following elements. Number 1, you as the speaker, as in your own interest and knowledge about the topic that you're going to present. Number 2, who's listening, as in your audience. What are your listeners expecting to hear from you? Remember when I told you earlier about constructing a plan, you have to know your audience, right? So your audience will help you to construct the specific purpose of your speech. Number 3, what is the context of your event? Where or for what will you be speaking for? It all goes back to how you construct a plan for your presentation. All right. So the specific purpose, therefore, has this particular formula. This is for you to remind yourself. This is your objective, right? To whether to inform, to demonstrate, to explain, to persuade, to tell, or to convince who your target audience is, to tell your target audience or about the topic or the context of your speech. Okay. So this is, you can take note or screenshot about this, the formula, and the example is right here. The reason why I am here today is to convince of my classmates. To convince is the specific communication verb. To convince my classmates of, my classmates are the target audience, the efficiency of the COVID-19 booster shots, the context, the topic. Okay, so overall, this is your specific purpose of your speech, the main objective of your speech. So you have to have the specific purpose so that when you're building your presentation, you don't go anywhere. Like you don't, like you don't go astray. All right. Once you have the specific purpose, for instance, if you know that you're going to talk about why fast food is unhealthy, your general purpose is to inform about fast food being unhealthy. Okay, so your audience is your classmates, for instance, or your students. Okay, therefore, with that, you formulate your specific purpose to be as follows. The reason why I am here today is to convince my classmates or my students that fast food is unhealthy. All right, that is your specific purpose. Okay. All right, with that, now that you have a specific purpose, you will now have a central idea. Okay, so a central idea is when you clearly state your focus, your main points, your specific purpose earlier to the audience. Okay, so this central idea, a specific purpose earlier, is for yourself as a presenter. Central idea is for your students, for your audience. Okay, so central idea must have these 3 elements. Number 1, it should be in one full sentence. Rather than segmenting sentences that will make your statement vague, formulating it in one sentence will give a strong impression. Okay, you're going to tell your students that this is what you're going to teach today in one whole sentence. Your thesis statement is in one sentence. Am I right? When you write a thesis paper, when you write a presentation, your thesis statement is in one sentence, right? So that's the same with central idea. It's in one full sentence. Number 2, now that you know that it's in one full sentence, you know that it should be a statement. It's not a question. The question shall only be asked by your audience. You are there to give a statement. You are there to answer the question. So you have to clearly state as the questions must only come from your audience. Number 3, your central idea should be as specific as possible. It should be specific and it should relate closely to your topic. It's not too vague and must be closely related to your topic. All right. For instance, over here, for you to clearly see how central ideas or thesis statements should be, it's something like this. Our topic is benefits of doing yoga. On the left side is how a central idea should be, and on the right side is what a central idea should not be. Okay, let's look at this one by one. The first one is when I say about how the central idea should be in one full sentence. Yoga practice can help college students improve the quality of their sleep, improving the posture, and managing the anxiety. So as you can see over here, the thesis statement or the central idea here is in one complete sentence and has all the key points. It has all the cores that you will be presenting in your class, okay? Compared to the one on the right, yoga is great for many things. It can help you sleep better and not be so stiff. Yoga also helps you to feel better. So it's not in one full sentence. It uses vague words as in it's not being specific. Like it's instead of saying improve the quality of their sleep, which is already very specific, you say it can help you sleep better and then not be so stiff. What do you mean stiff? Stiff has many contexts. Of course, the context here is to improve your posture. So it is obvious that the one on the left is the better central idea than the one on the right. Okay, because number one is a one complete sentence. Number two, okay, yoga practice can help college students focus while studying, manage stress, and increase mindfulness. So here is a statement compared to the one on the right. What are the benefits of yoga for college students? Now, this is not a central idea. This is a question. And this question should have come from your audience, not you. Okay? Instead, this question is meant for you to answer it. Okay, so if the audience is asking what are the benefits of doing yoga, your central idea or your thesis statement, your answer is yoga practice can help college students focus while studying, manage their stress, and increase their mindfulness. All right, so that is a strong formulation of a central idea. Okay, and then next, yoga is an inclusive, low impact practice that offers mental and physical benefits for a beginning athlete, a highly competitive athlete, and everyone in between. So, this one uses very specific context, right? Specifically, it says here that yoga is great for athletes and for everyone in between. It specifically says how yoga is, right? As an inclusive, low impact practice. Compared to the one on the right, yoga is great and everyone should try it. It's very vague. It's very generic, it's very general. Therefore, it's a weak central idea. And number four, making sure that while it's specific, it also relates to your topic. Okay, so over here on the left, yoga practice can help college students develop mindfulness so they can manage anxiety, increase their sense of self-worth, and improve decision making. Okay, so this one over here is already specific and it's related to the topic of the benefits of doing yoga. Compared to the one on the right, yoga practice increases mindfulness. Okay, that's the benefit, but can lead to some injuries. Is that a benefit? And it takes at least 200 hours of training to become an instructor. I thought we're talking about benefit of doing yoga over here. So you see, the elements of the central idea are not related to one another and are not related to the topic. Okay, so the next time that you want to tell your audience why you are here to teach, why you are here to present on what topic you're going to talk about today, you have to make sure that you have the strong central idea, the strong thesis statement that you will tell your audience. Okay. All right, next up, now that we have the central idea, I want you guys to find which one is the central idea over here. Number one, number two, number three, or number four. I will give you guys 1 minute to answer in the comment section and in the chat box which one is the central idea. It's pretty easy, everyone. It's like right there already. Okay. So can you guys identify which one is the central idea? Is it number one? Shasha Fuad is a public speaking trainer. She is 23 years old. She's currently doing her final year studies in IIUM. Is that a central idea? Or is the central idea number two? What is the importance of public speaking? Or is the central idea number three? Studying at MIDP is fun. Or is central idea number four? Which one? Try to answer in the chat box. Any answers? Well, in case you're curious, because we don't have much time now. All right, I see a comment on YouTube. Fatin Sakina says the central idea is number four. Exactly. Yes, why is it number four? Why don't you tell us in the comment section why is it number four? Okay, so it says here, the people on YouTube says that public speaking encourages you to be more creative and vocal in voicing your opinions on critical issues is the central idea. So why is this the central idea? Before we go on a break. Anyone probably in the Google Meet as well can answer. Even the committees can answer.
Why do you think number 4 is the central idea? Like, why is it number 4? Why is it not number 3? Why is it not number 2? Why is it not number 1? Because it states the benefit or the effect of public speaking. Yes, correct, Fatin Sakinat. Yes, that's one. Another point is because it's in one complete sentence compared to number, and it's a statement. Exactly. Okay. So compared to number two is a question. Number 1 is in like 3 sentences. And number 3, the question is rather, the statement is rather vague. All right. So nice one, Fatin Sakina. All right. That's a very good input over there. Okay. Thank you, everyone. All right. Once you have the content, once you have, the elaboration, once you have all of the specific purpose, the general purpose, and the central idea, right? Now it's time for you to have a complete presentation, as in having a great introduction, a great content, okay, the body of the paragraph, and has a good conclusion. All right, complete. It's a complete sentence. It's a complete presentation over there. All right. So with that, how do you want to introduce your speech? Introducing your speech has 3 main things that we have to take note of. Number 1, attention. We have an attention span as short as a goldfish, or our audience even has an attention span of shorter than a goldfish even. So how do we want to amaze our audience, right? How do we want to catch their attention? Number 2, when we want to introduce our speech, you have to give our audience the reason why they should stick around. You have to give the audience the reason why they should listen to your presentation. Okay. And then number 3, when you want to introduce your speech in your introduction, you have to give them a heads up. You have to give them a summary as to what your main ideas are. Okay, like when we have the central idea, the thesis statement earlier, that is a form of giving a sneak peek. Okay, give a heads up to what your main ideas are. Try to summarize them in one short story. Okay, so how is this so? Giving a good introduction includes having a good wow statement. All right, a good wow statement is the one, because the wow statement is when a statement that you give and provides the one reaction that's worth 1,000 words. All right, there are 7 types of wow statements. Before we go on a break, I will quickly go through the 7 wow statements over here. Number 1, okay, illustration or anecdotes, facts or statistics, quotes, humor, historical event, recently, or imagine this. All of these are wow statements in the sense that when you want to introduce your speech, when you want to introduce your main points, right, you will begin with a wow statement. If, okay, for instance, you want to introduce your statement with the first wow statement, the illustration or anecdote. Illustration or anecdotes is basically a short paragraph of a true story. Before you begin your presentation, before you begin your storytelling, you tell a short story. Okay, you tell a true story that's related to your speech or befitting to your whole theme, right? For instance, if you're going to talk about climate change, you will want to introduce your speech with sharing your experience about being involved in flood crisis in Malaysia. You see, when I was in Shah Alam, I never thought that Shah Alam will be in a state of emergency, especially when Taman Sri Muda, where I was literally almost sinking even. I cannot imagine. Can you guys imagine at that time? I have to run and I have to walk up all the way to my rooftop. Never have I thought in the years that I live as a Taman Sri Muda resident that I will be drowned in flood. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the main reasons why we should take climate change seriously. You see, you begin your whole presentation about climate change with a personal story. So your audience will imagine, oh, this is how impactful it was to you. Okay, I'm going to give more attention on that. All right? That is how you begin your introduction with a true story, an illustration. You illustrate or you give an anecdote of a personal story that fits to your theme, that fits to your context, that fits to your topic of your presentation. All right? So that is wow statement number one. Wow statement number two is facts or statistics. So, 2019, our global temperature is this. But as of 2022, our global temperature has rise to 5 degrees Celsius. And our oceans are getting warmer and warmer each day. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why we should think that climate change is important. You begin your speech with numbers or statistics that are shocking, with facts that are shocking, so that your audience will feel, whoa, it is important, it is huge. Okay? That is how you begin your speech, with facts or statistics. A hint or visualization of numbers or data that will keep the audience curious. Okay, why are you giving me this data? Why are you giving me these numbers? All right? Okay, so before we move on to the next wow statement, we will now move to a short break, 11:10 right now. So I'll pass this back to our moderator for the break session.
All right, wonderful input by our lovely Miss Shasha. Now let's take a breather for 5 minutes. For those not fasting, you can refill your mugs with more coffee and get some more snacks. Before that, ladies and gentlemen, please take note. This is the first keyword for your attendance form. Your first keyword is confidence. 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 Your second keyword will be given later after the Q&A session. Stay tuned and we will be right back. everyone. I hope everyone has freshened up during the 5-minute break. Friends from the YouTube Live, are you still with us? Go ahead and comment the red heart emoji if you are. All right, before we go ahead to our Q&A session, we will continue with Miss Shasha's sharing session. Miss Shasha, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so now earlier we paused at the second wow statement. So let us move on to the third wow statement, which is quotes. Okay, so when you want to begin your speech, you can always begin with saying quotes, right? Like, for instance, if we're going to present about climate change, you could say, the climate change has already been solved. We already have the facts and solutions. All we have to do is wake up and change. That is the words of Greta Thunberg, a 15-year-old climate change advocate who is younger than both me and you, and yet she has so much aspiration to save the world. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, if a girl as young as 15 years old is motivated, has the drive to change the way that we live today, why don't we? With that, I will be presenting and I will be talking about the importance of knowing about climate change. Okay? So that's how you give a wow statement. So, like your audience will be like, oh, that's so deep, man. Like, I thought we all like doing that. Like, we all would post on our status, we all would post on our IG stories, like quotes from some people, motivational quotes, right? Okay, so even motivational speakers, they will tend to always insert motivational quotes or stories when they want to present, and that makes the audience feel something. That makes the audience feel motivated to change, to be more motivationally motivated, right? So that in a way explains how wow statements like quotes even will be able to catch the introduction of the audience during your introduction of the speech. Okay, other than quotes, you can also, if you happen to be someone who's very funny, you can begin your speech with humor. Okay, you engage right away with your audience with something funny, like a funny anecdote, a funny story, or funny illustration. Okay, like when Mark Bezos was presenting about or was talking about the acts of kindness, right? He began by saying, while everyone else got the chance to save something big, all I got to save was a pair of old stinky shoes. And the audience over there laughed, okay, because he was talking about his experience as a volunteer firefighter. And the context was everyone else got to save huge things, right? They got to save the dog, they got to save the owners of the house. But then, as a firefighter, he only got to save a pair of old stinky shoes. That's that's some kind of humor. It's funny because while everyone else got to save something, it's very, very, like you get to save lives. You, on the other hand, got to save shoes. But then that was just a hook. Like that was just an introduction, because at the end of his story, he tells about how every act of kindness, even as small as it is important. Okay. If you happen to not be someone who's funny, you can always also begin your presentation with the historical event, right? When you want to talk about the climate crisis, for instance, you can begin in your introduction talking about the history where we had a massive flood in Tanah Melayu at the time in Malaysia, year 1971, where Kuala Lumpur was drowned because of the flood. Okay? So you can begin by saying things like, you and I were not born in 1971, but those who were born in that year would have told you a story where Kuala Lumpur, which we now see as a modern city, the capital of Malaysia, was once under the flood. Okay? If not historical event, you can even quote with a recent event. Okay? So when you talk about climate crisis, once you talked about the 1971 flood, you can begin with, in Malaysia, while everyone was preparing to celebrate the New Year, while everyone was rushing to celebrate Christmas, we have families who are rushing to the centers because they were, devastated with the recent climate crisis. The flood that hit the cities in Malaysia that has never experienced flood in the first place. Shah Alam. All right. So the
final wow statement that you can even have in your introduction is imagine this. Okay? Now imagine this, all right? You guys, imagine that one day I was able to present all of this to you in, a physical event, right? In a physical event, in a physical setting. However, so like you guys can already imagine in your minds what I was asking for you guys to imagine. Okay. Or another example, if you're going to talk again about the climate crisis, you could say something like, I could still remember the cries, the wails I heard from afar as our houses were being carried away by the monstrous current under the non-stopping thunderstorms. And before this, can you imagine I was not someone who is so keen about climate change? Can you imagine the tears? Can you imagine the wail that I heard from inside the houses, ladies and gentlemen? The cries of babies struggling. When you ask them to imagine about something, you will tug into their emotions. And then you got their attention to, talk about your presentation. Okay? So that is also another example of a wow statement. All right. So now, okay, before that, let me refresh this for a bit. So far, how do you guys feel? Why don't you let me know in the comment section? What do you guys have learned so far? Like, do you guys think, like, have you heard of these before? Like, oh, I never thought that this was important. I never thought that this was important. How do you guys feel so far? Why don't you let me know? Okay. All right, I'm going to resume presenting. All right, let's go. Okay, so now that we have known like tips and tricks on how to give a wow statement, okay, especially when you want to give a persuasive speech, right? This is according to Aristotle. Okay, according to Aristotle, there are 3 modes of persuasion that we as public speakers, as presenters, can utilize when we want to present or when we want to teach in class. Ethos, pathos, and logos. Okay, ethos is the credibility of the speaker. Means when you want to persuade your audience in believing in you, you will use the mode ethos. You will convince them based on your credibility as a speaker. For instance, as an English teacher that teaches English. Okay, so you're basically persuading your audience to believe in you as, how to say, as your credibility as an English teacher to teach English. Okay, your audience will not be convinced if you want to teach science but you have a background in English. Same as today, because I have a background in public speaking, so I'm using my credibility as a freelance host, as an MC, to talk to you guys about public speaking. Okay, so I'm using the mode ethos. Pathos is when you use the emotions or when you want to make use of the emotions of your audience. Okay, so it's like, for instance, when you want to talk about child poverty, when you want to talk about child hunger, okay, while you're talking about that, you will use the pictures of children in Africa. Okay, and this is something that's very commonly used. Like when you want to talk about something so sad, you will use sad pictures so that your audience will feel sadder when they see these visuals. Okay, so it's the same thing. With this, you are using the mode of persuasion pathos, which is you try to appeal to the emotions of the audience. The third mode of persuasion is logos, the logic thinking of the audience. Okay, so it means here, remember when I talked to you about when you want to explain in your lyrics, you must make sure that it's concrete, and in a way that you also must make sure that your lyrics are transparent and honest by using statistics, by using numbers. Remember, one of the wow statements that you can use is facts and statistics. That is when you appeal to the audience using the mode of persuasion logos. Okay, you want to appeal to the logical thinking of the audience. All right, for instance, when you want to talk about world hunger, child hunger, you use the statistics that you retrieve from the United Nations. Okay, you want to show how dire the situation is. You want to show how, somehow how heavy the situation is just by using the statistics. Okay, So that is how you use the modes of persuasion. Number one, ethos. You use your credibility as a speaker when you want to talk about a certain topic. Pathos, when you want to use visual aids or anything that will appeal to the emotions of the audience. And logos, when you want to present and when you want to persuade about something, you use statistics and numbers. It's like debating, in debating, I think some of you are debaters here. All right. So when you're debating, you will use your ethos as the credibility of the speaker to talk about a certain motion. Whether you want to agree or disagree, you will want to use, or you want to tell the judges that you are a certain person that is eligible enough to talk or to feel such way. Okay. When you're debating, when you want to appeal to the emotions of the audience, you will use intonation, you will use stories, you will use statistics that will make the audience feel sad or angry about the topic that you're going to present about. When you're debating, you obviously appeal to the logical thinking of the audience by presenting the statistics or facts about a certain thing, right? So all of these three modes of persuasion not necessarily means that you use only one mode of persuasion. No, you can use all these three at the same time or in one same presentation. Okay? When you're presenting online and offline, there are three main things that you have to look out for in order for you to give a smooth presentation. When you're presenting online, you must make sure that you make eye contact with your camera. Like what I'm doing right now, I'm looking at camera most of the time. Sometimes I refer to the slide and then I look back to you. Why is that so? Because the eyes on the camera, okay, the camera represents tens, thousands, hundreds of audience. So when I look at the camera while I'm presenting most of the time, it will make my audience feel like I'm talking sincerely towards them. Okay? When you're presenting online as well, you have to make sure that you use the right body language. You sit up straight. You make sure that your camera is showing the upper half of your body so that you'll be able to use the gestures on the upper half, okay? Using your arms, using your hands, using your facial expressions. So you have to make sure that your camera is aligned with the upper half of your body. And always make sure that when you're presenting, you have to smile even if it's online. Remember, the camera represents the eyes of the many that are listening to you, that are watching you presenting. Okay, so smile even when it's an online presentation. Presentability wise, you might want to do a background check on like your background, okay, on your lighting, on your technical check, okay, like earlier when we want to do a presentation or online events, obviously we have to run rehearsals. You have to make sure that your internet connection is stable. Why is this so? Because when there's one inconvenience that happens, okay, like when there's internet interruption and all of that, it will affect your momentum of presentation. And you do not want that to happen most of the time. So make sure that you run a thorough check on your internet connection and stability and what you're wearing, your microphone, your audio and video input. Why is this so? So that you'll be able to feel comfortable to present online without having to worry about anything that will stop your online presentation. Okay? Compared to when you're presenting offline in class, right? When you want to present, okay, especially offline, this is a trick, okay? For you to make eye contact with your audience, I get that it's nerve-wracking, it's making you nervous if you have eye contact with every single audience in your room. So what you can do is, you can always divide and segment your audience to 3 different sections: your left, your center, and your right. So when you're presenting offline, you can always interchange your gaze. Sometimes you're looking to the left, sometimes you're looking to the middle, and then left again, and then to the right, and then to the middle again. Okay? So you don't necessarily have to look at each and everyone in their eyes. Just make sure that you follow these segmentations of audience. So in a way, your audience will feel like you are talking to them. Okay? You're talking to the whole people in the room, whether it's in a classroom or whether it's for like a whole hall. Like when you're emceeing, you're presenting in a hall full of audience, right? So you can look something's over here and then over there. You know, you create segments of your audience so that you know where to look at. All right. Next is body language when you're presenting offline. Okay. When you're presenting offline, especially when you're standing up, you have to make sure that you stand up straight. Okay. You stand up straight and making sure that your feet is aligned with your shoulder. Okay. So that you will look confident. Okay, and you use your whole body gesture, whether you choose to walk while you're presenting or whether you want to choose to demonstrate with your hands and etc. Right? And sometimes when you want to talk to the audience, when you lean forward, okay, when you lean forward, you refer to the audience will feel more intimate and close with you. Okay, this is a form of establishing nonverbal communication, establishing a connection using your body language with your audience. Number 3 is presentability. When you want to present on offline, okay, on the stage, you will want to wear dark shades of colors. So it symbolizes trust, so that you'll earn trust from your audience. Whether you want to wear the shades navy blue or amber green or even ruby red, okay? But whatever colors that you may want to choose to wear, you must make sure that whatever you're wearing is comfortable. So when you make sure that what you're wearing is comfortable, you won't have to feel like you're bothered by what you're wearing. You won't have to think about whether it's too tight or too loose because you're already comfortable in your clothes, so basically. And also make sure that you do a prior study of your presentation. You know what you're presenting about, you know exactly what your topic is about, you know and you remember the general and specific purpose of your presentation. Okay, so have a prior study. So in a way, all of these will make you look more presentable and more confident as a public speaker, okay, as a presenter. All right, so do you want to be a presenter or do you want to be the presenter? Okay, the presenter knows first to level your emotions, means that you have a variety of intonation, you have a variety of emotional levels when you want to present about something. Because everyone can obviously talk when you're given a text or when you're given a slide, but can everyone give a presentation to be taken back home? Like, are you able to appeal to the emotions of the audience, the ethos earlier, with your intonation per se? Okay. Number 2, the presenter is always confident. Okay. Confidence, like I said earlier, is not the same as being brave. Okay. But being brave is possible when you are confident. Okay. Confident as in you're comfortable with your position, you're comfortable with your topic, and you're comfortable knowing that you know exactly what to talk about. Okay. And the presenter is always nervous. Yes, you heard me right. The presenter is always nervous. How is this so? I thought being a presenter is when you're not being nervous. That's the thing. Okay, I will talk about that soon. Okay, in our final part. When we talk about confidence, you're basically building trust among the audience. All right. When you're confident, you want to show that you're capable to hold the reins to the horse. You're capable of the topic that you're going to talk about. You're capable of anything that's coming towards you. Okay. So with this, you want to emit that aura that you have as a presenter, that you are capable of presenting this topic. When you're not confident, when you don't trust yourself, then you don't create the trust among your audience. Okay, your audience and your panelists will not be confident in you. When you're confident, you are telling them that you are the boss. You are telling them that you run the household. You are telling them that you're holding the show, and you're telling them, hey, all eyes on me. Okay, that is when you're confident, because you will remember in your mind you are the boss of your presentation. So you should not let others, your audience, or even of your inconvenience overshadow you. Okay, when you're confident, you're able to have the persuasion to taunt and to capture the attention of your audience. Okay, when you're confident with that aura, your audience and your panelists will take you seriously. All right. Okay, so I know that confidence is important, Shasha, but how am I supposed to be confident if I'm nervous? This is interesting because I attended a class with the ex-CEO of Bernama TV, Suhaimi Sulaiman, and when there was a question about nervousness, like how should we not be nervous, this is what he said. Actually, being nervous is good for a public speaker, because when you're nervous, you are aware of the responsibility that you hold as a public speaker. Okay, because in your mind, you know the burden that you bear as a public speaker. All right. When you're not nervous, you are being overconfident, and overconfidence kills everything. So, how do you want to handle them if you do not delete them? Do not overthink. Not just in life, even in public speaking. Do not overthink about the things that are yet to happen. Do not overthink about how the audience will react to you, because you are already going to give your very best. Okay? And then do not overdo. Do not overdo your presentation. Hold up, my mom is texting me. Always reply your mom on time. Okay. All right. So do not overdo your presentation. Do not overdo your clothes. Do not overwear anything. All right. Because all of these overdoing things, right, it will somehow elevate your nervousness. And you do not want to do that. You do not want to be in a state of mind where you are nervous and scared all the time. And do not overreact when inconveniences do happen. Like when you're doing online presentation, right? And then your internet connection suddenly interrupts you. And then your audience suddenly say that, oh, I cannot hear you, we cannot hear you, right? Do not overreact to that. I have this experience when I'm doing Shopee live hosting for Jovian about their masks, right? The usual inconvenience that we face is the audio, right? We'll always receive comments like, admin, we cannot hear you, we cannot hear the host, all right? But I choose to not overreact on that. I choose to not react like, oh my God, they cannot hear me. Oh my God, they cannot hear me. Because when you're overreacting, all right, the focus that should have been on your presentation will somehow drift away. You will cloud your mind only with being nervous about the inconvenience that you have. You see? So, why is my mom like this? Okay. All right. So do not overreact on that. Instead, you should handle your nervousness by number 1, taking deep breaths every time before you begin your presentation. Number 2, you revise your points, you revise your content, you revise your presentation so that you're confident and you assure yourself, oh, this is what I'm going to present. Check what you wear so that you're comfortable with it. And finally, reaffirm your stance as a presenter, as a teacher, as a public speaker of that topic. With that, you'll be able to handle your nervousness, and with that, you'll be able to be the presenter. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening and for hearing my sharing about upgrading the basics. I hope that it somehow helped you a lot in upgrading the basic skills that you have, because by the end of the day, we are all capable of being the public speaker. Okay, it's just a matter of whether you want to do it or not. Passing it back to Jewel. Thank you, Jewel.
All right, thank you so much, Miss Shasha. Alrighty then, let's get into our second slot, which is our Q&A session. We have quite a few questions here, Miss Shasha, so feel free to answer the questions and give your opinions. All right, the first question goes, is it good as a public speaker you move around a lot or stutter when you deliver your speech? Thus, stuttering will be considered as not normal and shows that the speakers are incompetent or incapable.
All right, that's a very good question. If I were to be brutally honest, yes. When you stutter a lot, it will show that you are somehow not confident with your presentation. You don't trust yourself as a presenter. Okay, so what you have to do, like I said earlier, you have to, when you feel like you're going to stutter, you're going to first take deep breaths. You take deep breaths and always remember where you're going with your presentation. If it helps you by practicing your presentation beforehand, then do it. Okay, but to minimize your stutter, of course, it does not take after one workshop. It does not take after one sharing session. All right, but rather it takes tons and tons of practice. Not gonna lie, like I've done, I think it's been 6 years since I involved myself in all of these public speaking thingy. Actually, it's berbelas tahun juga lah, because I've involved myself since I was young. I was in primary school, right? So it took me years even to minimize my stutter, not delete my stutter, but minimize my stutter. Okay, minimize as in I still stutter from time to time, but I somehow am able to minimize it because I make sure I practice this. Whenever I feel like I'm going to stutter because I don't know what else to talk about, or I suddenly feel like my mind is going blank, I take deep breaths, I pause for a while, and then I resume back to where I was talking before this, so that I will sound like I have a better flow of managing my speech. Okay. About moving around, I did say earlier that when you're presenting offline, if you want to walk around the stage, then you can. But make sure while you are moving around or while you are walking, you don't like move your body too much like this. Okay. Because we're not doing nashid or marhaban or anything. No. But as a public speaker, you want to affirm yourself. As a presenter, you want to affirm your stance on something. Only walk when you feel like you want to walk. Okay. Try, or if you're not comfortable with walking, just try to stand, like you just freeze on when you are at. Just use your body gestures instead. If you feel like you want to move around a lot, just use your hand gestures instead. This way you will look more expressive as a presenter. Okay. But if you're struggling with stuttering and moving around a lot, and when I tell you that, oh, when you stutter, you show incompetence, don't take it too hard, as in like you associate yourself with that forever. Like you acknowledge that you stutter too much, and you acknowledge that you move around too much. So forever you will be the incompetent public speaker. No. Because why? You can always train, you can always practice to not do it. Take deep breaths and just be mindful and be conscious of where you're talking. That's the only key in order for you to not move around and drift away from your presentation. Okay, I hope it answers your question.
All right, thank you so much, Miss Shasha. So the second question goes, if we make a mistake during presentation or public speaking, how can we rectify it professionally? It seems Miss Shasha is currently
Sorry. Apparently I did not mute my mic. Can you repeat the question again?
Okay, so the question is, if we make a mistake during presenting or public speaking, how can we rectify it professionally?
Rectify professionally when we make a mistake is basically by just acknowledging a mistake. Because you're humans. As a presenter, you're still human. So you can just acknowledge your mistake by saying, oh, I'm sorry, I think I made a mistake. Let me recap that. Or I'm sorry, I think I misquoted that. Let me recap that. Okay. I'm sorry, I think I mispronounced something. Let me recap that. Okay. You apologize briefly and then you move on. That's the only way. Like, this is even what TV hosts do. Okay. Like, not in most situations, but according to a class that I attended with one of Astro's ex-TV hosts, before this, if there were mistakes that happened, like when you're presenting and then suddenly like technical difficulties happen, right? Try to not only acknowledge that it happened, but also try to make a twist out of it. So for instance, earlier when I said that, or maybe like when I'm doing my slides, right, in class, for instance, and then suddenly there's a technical difficulty that happens. First, I will say, whoops, well, that happened. But then again, it's online. We can never predict whatever's going to happen online. And well, mistakes happen. But at least, hey, I'm still here and I'm still pretty. Now, moving on to my presentation. So you see, you acknowledge that it happened, and then you try to twist professionally out of it, be a bit quirky with it, and then you move on. You don't have to dwell on the mistakes that you've done, not only in your life but also in your presentation. But I guess that applies in your life. Like even if you're in your life, if you dwell too much on your mistakes, then you will never get nowhere, right? So don't dwell on mistakes, acknowledge, and move on.
All right. The third question is how to maintain voice intonation throughout our presentation and keep it lively throughout the presentation.
All right, so it's all about maintaining the energy. Yes, I get it. Maintaining the energy is really hard. But because of that, you have to make sure that you constantly hear yourself. that you're constantly, that's why I said earlier, when you're presenting, you have to make sure that you can confirm you are currently there. You're currently presenting. You are listening to yourself, you're talking to yourself, so that you are aware of how you are giving intonation towards certain parts of your speech. When you're aware of your situation, right, this will somehow give you clear sign of when exactly should you, level your intonation, when you should improve your energy level, because you yourself are already aware. Oh, wait a minute, I think I'm declining a bit. Wait a minute, I think I'm sounding monotonous. Let me fix that real quick. But then again, this is also a skill that you can only develop through practice, through frequent presentations. Okay. And also, if you're presenting in class, it's always helpful if you ask for feedback from your audience. All right. So, yeah, that's just that, getting feedback and be aware of where you are while you're presenting.
Okay. Last question we have for you from the audience, Miss
Mhm.
Shasha. How to avoid voice cracking from too much practice for presentations?
Drink a lot of water. Okay. And especially prior to your presentation day, do not drink iced water. You can drink cold drinks, but no, not the ones with ice. Even better, just avoid cold drinks at all costs to protect your vocal cord. And also, like, you don't have to speak too loud or present too loud. Just make sure that your voice is articulate and audible. Like making sure that your mouth is whole when you speak. You articulate your words very well and your presentation is well heard. So you don't have to worry about your audience not being able to hear you. Okay. And if it's outside fasting month, you can always ask permission from your audience to drink a sip of water. It's okay. Because again, you're humans and your audience are human too.
Okay, thank you so much to our lovely speaker for all the wonderful input, suggestions, and advice given. Now we have plenty of tips and tricks up our sleeves for the next presentation. I'm afraid we have come to the end of our session. I wish we still had more time, but that's okay. There's always a next time. Once again, I'd like to say thank you to Miss Shasha for sharing your thoughts, inspirations, and ideas with us. I surely learned a lot, and I believe our friends in the YouTube Live have learned a lot too. Attention to the audience. I will now announce the second keyword for the attendance form. The second keyword is inspiration. I repeat, inspiration. INSPIRATION. With that being said, we have come to the end of our sharing session. Before I peace out, I'd like to say thank you to our friends in YouTube Live for hanging out with us. This is Jewel Sunny. Stay safe, everyone. Back to you, Fatin.
All right, thank you, Jewel. So that was a great sharing session, and we hope everyone who is watching currently will benefit from it. Hopefully, you will all practice the tips and advices on how to become better presenters. Having that said, Aspire to Inspire 2.0 Tailor Your Presentation Skills has come to an end. Once again, we would like to thank our very amazing speaker today, Ms. Shasha Fuad, for being with us here today. Dear viewers, please be informed that the attendance form will be posted on the live chat box on our YouTube channel. The form will only be accessible for 10 minutes after the program is over. As a reminder, please make sure your information and the keywords mentioned earlier during the program are keyed in correctly. I repeat, the attendance form will only be open for 10 minutes after the program is over. Please make sure to fill in your details correctly. Thank you. So, before we end our program today, we would like to ask everyone to turn on their cameras for a photo session. Are you all ready? So, we hope everyone here in the Google Meet can turn on your cameras. All right, so the PDI team will now take over.
Okay, everyone. So we will be taking two photos in total. One will be formal photo, and the second one will be an informal photo. Okay, so let's start with the formal photo first. And okay, in 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, just a second. Okay, now for the informal photo, take your poses. And in 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
All right, thank you everyone. Finally, that's the end of our program Aspire to Inspire 2.0. Tailor your presentation skills. Thank you once again to everyone who has joined us today throughout the event, and we humbly apologize for any inconvenience caused. I, Fatin Sakina, your MC for today, will be signing off. Until we meet again, goodbye and take care everyone.